Hey y'all, this is Kathy.
And this is Bernard.
And we're Poly Voyage, and you're watching
PVTV.
All right, y'all, so it's been forever.
Yes.
And we are so sorry we've taken so long off. It's been about a couple of months since our last video.
Yes.
And shout out to everyone who's been subscribing since then and been seeing, especially our first time at our Swingers Club experience video, because that video is almost at like 1,000 views.
Yeah,
so
we appreciate it.
Thanks to y'all for kind of making sure that kind of gets out there. But pretty much we've just been kind of doing a lot of personal things. If you don't follow us on Instagram, and you might not know, Bernard just had hand surgery.
Yeah.
About 2 of them. We thought it was going to be like one. Whole nother story and a whole nother podcast on the page. But pretty much things have just been kind of a whirlwind pretty much in our personal lives. In case y'all don't know, we do have 2 small kids. So life has just been a whirlwind, but we have moved about 300 something miles away, about 4 or 5 hours.
5 hours.
Yeah.
5 hours.
New place, new city. I got a new job, new transfer to a new position. So it's just been a lot of change, but all for the good. Definitely all for the good, all for the better. So we're just glad to kind of just be settled and be in our own space, to be able to provide you the content that we want to provide you. And the frequency is definitely going to go up, so be prepared for more videos. As we have had some questions in the gap of time that we haven't been able to record videos, which is what we're doing now. It's kind of catching up.
Just catching up.
Yeah, and definitely getting just some content out there so you guys can understand that we didn't forget about y'all. And if y'all did send questions and you still want to send questions, feel free, follow us on Instagram at Poly Voyage, or you can always comment.
And you can subscribe on our YouTube.
Yes, subscribe. We have some subscribers. We see y'all. Some numbers coming up, so we appreciate y'all.
We're looking at.
Yes. So the first question that we had gotten that we didn't get a chance to respond to was from one of our followers at Ahisma Goddess, and we met her in Hawaii. When we went over there for about 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So we met her. She's an amazing, beautiful soul, and she had a question for us, which was pretty much about how do you manage safe sex or safe aware sex, or however you want to word it, when it comes to having multiple partners, and specifically much so when it comes to incubation periods. And what that is, for those who might not know, is that's pretty much when, even if you get tested every 3 months or every 6 months or whatever your marker is when you want to get tested, there can still be a time between then where the symptoms might not pop up on a urine test or a blood test or a throat swab or whatever it is. So even if you get tested every 3 months, there can still be something that might not pop up, and you walk around with some kind of, infection or whatever it is.
And you may be spreading around to different people
and
without
you don't
knowing
know
it and without knowledge of it. Not that you're doing it intentionally, but just to kind of, you didn't know. Yeah, straight up.
And it happens. So she kind of had a question specifically about that, like how do you handle safer sex practices and taking into account these incubation periods. So of course, everyone's consenting as to what's going on, but at the same time, we want to make sure we're not spreading things around, which is understandable. So Bernard, what are your thoughts specifically like on that? So you messed with a girl, she got tested, you got tested, all is good, and then all of a sudden now, in the routine 3 months or 6 months, you take another test and you pop a positive for something. Like, how do you feel like that? Like, how would that make you feel, or what would be your thoughts? Considering that context of both of you staying tested and being on top of it, but yet you still got something, or maybe she got something, what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts first is confronting that and being honest about that vulnerability and that situation that you're in. Because no one wants to approach somebody and be like, hey, I gave you something, or I gave you some kind of STD, STI, or, I didn't know my status, and I happened to, even though I did know my status, I gave you something. So it's also just being honest, being okay with being vulnerable, being and shameless about the process. Because life is gonna happen, you're gonna fall, and shit's gonna get fucked up, and somebody might catch something, and it's like, but what are you gonna do about that situation? Are you gonna continue to keep it a secret and hide that information and be like, okay, I got this disease, and I know they've been feeling me, and I've been getting a lot of sex and been sexually active a lot lately. You need to step back and draw back and be like, be honest and let people know, I've given you something and I just realized the symptoms, and it was an incubation period. Incubation period is saying you may have gotten tested at the time, but it lied dormant underneath for a while. And it's like we didn't detect it till 6 months later. Not that you weren't doing your due diligence to make sure you were getting tested and following up with the doctors, but it just happened to it stayed on dormant for 6 months. Be honest with that person that you're having sex with, or you're having sexual intercourse with, and let them know, because like you lying about it and perpetrating and acting like nothing's wrong with you, it becomes something bigger than what it was. It may have been just a small STI that could have been cured by probably like penicillin or pills or something like that. Now it's full blown. It's been 3 months. You haven't did shit about it. You've been hiding. Your dick about to fall off, or your coochie, your clitoris, or whatever.
We don't need that, y'all. We need all our private parts.
All our private parts. And it's like, I'm gonna let my wife share and everything like that. It doesn't feel good, And me, like, there's girls I've hollered at, and the last thing I want them to be like, okay, Bernard gave me some fucking STD or something like that, and I'll feel guilty about it. I'll feel bad. Let's be honest about it. Let's be real and be vulnerable and be like, like shit, like
that's gonna suck.
It ain't gonna feel good. Like, come on, like your reputation, and then they may be like, it's okay, it's nothing big, it's not a biggie, but at the same time, it's like, fuck, like, damn.
I think it's about too, like, the social stigma about being clean or unclean is so big in our society, and I think it's because we also don't have a lot of knowledge around it. And speaking from personal experience, like I was 16. And I was messing around with some guy who was like 20-some years old. I had no business fucking him, let's be honest. But I went back to an ex that I was with before that, gave him chlamydia off the bat. I had no symptoms. I had nothing to detect that something is wrong. But of course, I was having unprotected sex at 16 years old. And of course, my parents didn't know I was sexually active. So of course, I'm not going to be like, hey, mom, I've just finished messing with one partner. Can I go get tested to make sure I'm clean before I go to the next one? No, you just keep that shit a secret. Yeah. And you always think, like, it's not going to happen to you. Like, I'm not one of these little hoes, which I hate that term now. But it's like, I'm not one of these little hoes to be sitting here fucking around. Like, I'm not going to catch nothing. But it can happen. And for me, like, that was the biggest shame that I ever got, like, ever in my life. Because it was like, damn. Like, this dude is like, he ain't do nothing wrong. I was one who kind of messed with somebody else, came back, and it's like, now he's telling me, oh, when I piss, I feel like something. And I'm like, well, I don't know, nigga, like, I'm good. I don't know about you. Maybe it's something you've been doing. But he's telling me, like, no, like, you're the only person I mess with. And that's when it kind of came to the conclusion where I realized, like, damn, like, anybody can be touched. It can happen to anybody, Granted, I wasn't doing my due diligence at 16 to make sure I was practicing safe, aware, or safer sex because I had no knowledge about it, really didn't care much about it, to be honest. Like, I was just sitting there just trying to get some. So it's like, now that I have the awareness, I'm realizing, like, it can happen. And I think that's the most important thing to understand. It's like, especially when it comes to these incubation periods, it's like, you can get tested every 6 months, every 3 months. And there's certain things that not even going to pop up until maybe 6 months later. And then what are you going to do?
Yep.
You're doing,
you feel bad. And it's just like right now, you're probably watching this video like, oh, it can't be me. Yeah, you motherfucker. It can happen to you.
It's true.
Don't get it twisted. It happens. And it's like, it's life, dude. It's like, and I know her experience, just her sharing right now. She's open up. We ain't trying to sit here and punt fake and sit here and try to pretend like, oh, everything's always all peachy. And even when we watch these podcasts and like listen to the videos about the safe sex practices, we almost step back from doing polyamory and just being exclusive to just one another. Because it's scary. It's like you never know. We may be honest with one another and everything, but at the same time, there's someone out there that may like, they don't want to have that stigma of being dirty or being a fucking hoe or fucking be, dirty dick or all that other shit.
So they'd rather keep it a secret and then kind of blame it on like when someone else catches like, oh, really? Because maybe it was you that was doing something. It's like, no, let's be honest.
Be honest, man.
And I think now it's to the point where it's like, even if I'm messing with someone exclusively or Bernard messing with someone, it's like at this point, it's like, dude, like, just tell me if you got something going on. I'd rather you tell me and you're like, hey, Kat, like, some shit popped up on a test. I must be messing with Shorty and I got some shit. Like, it's cool. Then you know what, dude? Take your 2 weeks off. Take your little pills.
Take your little pills.
Do what you got to do, whatever it is, or antibiotics. Get clean. Make sure you good. When you good, hit me up and we'll go back to fucking. It's not a problem.
It's not a problem.
But at the same time, it's like when you try not to, like, I think the issue is people don't want to stop doing these practices. They don't want to stop having sex with whoever that person is. So they'd rather be more high risk than to just be honest. Like, dude, if you're honest, Like it's all good. Granted, and if it's an issue that you are being honest and it's causing a roadblock, then that's not someone you want to be messing with in the first place.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, like there's a podcast that we listen to, y'all, that we're gonna tag so y'all can kind of listen to it. It's from Life on the Swingset. It's on Apple, iTunes, or podcast, whatever the app is on the phone. But it's about an hour and 15-minute long podcast episode that talks specifically about risk-aware sex, and they change the terminology to understand that sex has risk. No matter how much you try to be responsible, no matter how much you want to try to prevent it, there's risk in everything we do, especially when it comes to the sexual realm. And now it's about understanding, like, okay, how can we be more knowledgeable about it and be more proactive and be more honest about shit that just happens. Yes. And so I'm going to tag the podcast. You guys listen to it. It's about, like I said, an hour and 15 minutes long.
Very informative.
Very informative. Yes. And about 15 minutes, just so you know, about 14 and a half minutes into it, if you want to fast forward it, that's when they kind of start talking more about the specific topic. Because the first 15 minutes, they talk about some other stuff, which you can listen to if you want to. It doesn't matter. It's still good information. But if you want to talk about or learn about this specific challenges going on in society, it's about 15 minutes into the episode. And just to give y'all some stats in case y'all don't want to listen to it, I'll let y'all know. Some of the stats they brought about, which I'm going to read so I don't mess it up. About 1 in 5 people in the United States have HIV and don't know.
Yes.
Which is interesting because, like, how they talk about in the open community or poly or swinger community, testing is a normal routine. Like, it's not something taboo. So it's like, it's normal to kind of get tested. But even still, especially
in the porn industry. I know the porn
industry.
Yeah,
for sure, they do.
Get tested on a regular basis.
Yeah, but like, if you're not in an open community, more likely, if you're just dating monogamously, it's like, you don't really go get tested. You go from one person to the next and to the next and to the next. You with each person for 2-3 years, whatever the case may be. But it's not really common practice to get routinely tested. Whether or not you're being faithful or not, it's just not a routine thing. It just doesn't really happen. At least not for us.
I'm going to chime in real quick.
Yeah.
In society, it's looked upon us, as like as a problem if you're not proactive. You know, being proactive, we're talking about, like, getting yourself tested. It's okay to be at the house and have your stuff hanging up and letting people know that, okay, like, I've tested myself. And it's a thing. I'm a trainer, and it's like, I believe in, if you don't make time for exercise, you have to make time for illness. So last thing you want is to be faced with this problem, and then, it's like, now it's like you're stuck in a situation. You'll find out about it, and it's like, now, like, we're all having to, like, deal with the situation at one hand and at one time,
or
all together.
3 or 4 different ways when you could have handled it.
When you could have handled it. So it's like, I'd rather know and do my due diligence to do what I need to do instead of finding out at that moment. That's just like if someone's cheating, it's like, I'd rather you come up to me and be honest with me, like, hey, I caught something and I would like to take a break right now. And so I don't pass it on to you, instead of you continuing to go on about it. And it's like, then I get symptoms and then I feel it. And now I'm attacking you and, like, what the fuck going on and everything like that. When I found out through me getting the disease. I'd rather you tell me straight up and everything, and, like, refrain from having sexual intercourse with me before you just sit here and continue on and, like, keep it a secret. And I find out through the grapevine by me fucking getting some itching or some shit going on within me.
And even still, even not even so much as far as cheating, but it could all be consensual, and you can still get something. So even if, like, Bernard's dealing with 2-3 girls, or I'm dealing with girls or guys or whatever the case is, and we're all getting tested, but then somehow through the incubation period, things don't get it doesn't pop up on a test. Now one of us got something, and it's so quick sometimes to kind of go into immediate, like, blame mode, like, I've only been messing with you, you must have gave it to me. But it's like, sometimes it can happen, and I think that's what the podcast kind of goes into, and I'll get back to the stats in a second, but that's what it goes into, where it's like, we need to understand that if you're going to be in any kind of sexual behavior, regard whether you're monogamous or not, especially if you're open, poly, swinging, whatever you want to term it, it's like, you need to understand that things can happen, and we're all grown adults, and we all know that. If you don't want to take the risk, don't have sex. It's about as simple as that. And to be honest, y'all, with this podcast, me and Bernard, I'm telling you, we were listening to this shit, because when He's My Goddess asked us a question, we're, like, trying to figure out, like, okay, what information that's already out there that we can kind of learn from to kind of, of course we have our own opinions, but what information is there already out there that we can get an idea of like what other people talking about when it comes to this topic. And when we heard that podcast and they were talking about all these different things, I wish y'all can go listen to it. Like, please really do.
Yeah, definitely take the time to listen to it, because
It
if you're
was
in this
super,
lifestyle,
yeah,
you
have
need
to.
You need
or if
also
you're
inform
interested in it
yourself.
or whatever,
Just
like
interested.
you have to. And they even talk about it, it's like, it's gonna happen. But now it's to the point where it's like, let's be responsible. Like, okay, if you doing your due diligence and I'm doing my due, and I'm getting tested every 3 months, and God forbid I gave something to Bernard from someone else I was messing with, it's like, yeah, of course it's gonna be frustrating when it happens. It's like, damn, like I got some shit, and it's like, fuck, I don't know what happened. It's embarrassing, it's horrible, but it's like, you know what? Let's try to fix the problem and not just try to point finger. Because at the same time, we're all consenting to it. And that's the whole point and the difference between polyamory being open versus being in a monogamous cheating relationship, where it's like, in cheating aspect, people don't know. You're with somebody, you think you're monogamous, and you're not.
Yeah.
Where with poly, it's like, listen, I'm messing with this person, or just one person, or we're messing with whatever the configuration is. But it's like we're all aware of it. But now it's like, all right, cool. Like, I'm messing with, person A, but A got 2-3 other partners. Cool. Well, make sure you got them on lock. I'm trusting you. I'm entrusting you with my sexual health. Right? We have our boundaries, but you have your boundaries with everybody else. Make sure that, like, obviously they're doing their part. And if you're messing with someone that doesn't have, any kind of boundaries or any expectations when it comes to sexual health.
Or they're unethical.
Or they're unethical when it comes to their practices, don't mess with them.
Yeah.
Because then when you get something, you're going to be mad and you can't live with nobody else but yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's why sometimes it's easy to, like I said, blame other people. But we have to take ownership in our own sexuality and our own health. We have to.
You made that bed. Don't sit here. That's just like you've been doing criminal activities and the feds kick down your door. And you're like, oh, I didn't know this was going to happen. Like, that's part of the process. Yeah. You've been doing shit on the slot. So it's like they done kick down your doors. Guess what? You part of that shit.
It's
all
payday.
The motherfuckers you been rolling with, guess what? It's payday. Ain't no sitting here trying to tell and trying to cry like, oh, Jesus, no, motherfucker. Like, you going to jail or prison or whoever. Like, no.
Yeah, it's like you have to understand. Like,
own that shit.
Yeah, just own it.
Yeah.
Take the risk. I mean, it's all going to be a risk, but at the same time, it's like,
what you got into. So, whatever you're getting into, like, be a man or be a woman about it. Be responsible and own it. It doesn't feel good when you got to own it, but at the end of the day, it's like you chose to be in this process.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like,
And then getting back to this, getting back, no, you're good. And then getting back to the stats. So what it was saying too was that, like, when it comes to, for example, chlamydia, 75% of females and 50% of males have no symptoms, right?
Yes.
And then it was saying, when people were talking about the whole I'm clean and like proclaiming like, oh, I'm clean, here are my results. That's cool, but also having the responsibility and the maturity to understand that someone could be clean on every line on that test and still have something and just not know about it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it comes down to. And at the same time, it's like, even with the HIV antibodies, that can lay dormant from 25 days to 6 months. So you can get tested every 3 months and still pop up negative and you can have HIV. Yes. It can happen, And even with herpes, it can take between 2 weeks, I think it said, and 3 months. Even with a blood test, it still won't pop up.
And for guys, you'll see it on your penis, but for women, it lies dormant inside of the sexual canal and everything like that. So, we'll see it immediately, but the female may not know because it's inside, so she has to spread her
And even
lips
still,
and everything.
sometimes, like, even guys might not have symptoms either.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. I think that's the whole point of all this, is that no matter how many times you test, no matter how much research you do, no matter how many podcasts you listen to, and how many YouTube channels you follow and subscribe to, things are gonna happen. But now it's a matter of how are you going to react to it. Yeah. That's the biggest thing. And now at this point, it's like, what are you gonna do about it? You know something, are you going to change it? Are you going to just sit there and be quiet and act like nothing ever happened? Now you're purposely putting someone at risk. It's one thing to fault someone who is like purposely spreading all kinds of stuff. We've all heard those stories of someone who got HIV. They mad at the world and mad at God. Now they want to fuck everybody raw to share everybody this damn disease so they can have some other people sharing in their pain. No, that's not okay. But if you got something and you know it, say something. And to be honest, y'all, like, I work in the healthcare field. I'm a licensed clinician. I do therapy with a bunch of different populations. But when it comes to, like, even HIV specifically, I've had people who have HIV. And a lot of times they've been living with that disease for 25, 30 years. It's not what it used to be. And I know it's easy to say now because I don't have it. You don't have, but and of course, with the stigma, of course, would I want to mess with someone who's HIV positive? Probably not, to be honest. But that's my prerogative and that's my personal decision. But at the same time, understanding too that there's certain things like that even if you do get it, it's not the end of the world. Like, it's not. There's people that have HIV, have been living with it, and have been managing it. And to be honest, I even have people that are 60-something years old, been living with it for 30 years, and they still have children, and the children are HIV negative. Yeah. If you met, just like regular diabetes and, chronic, diseases, if you manage your stuff when you take your medications, you follow up on your, doctor visits, blood tests, things like that, and you manage your T-cell counts or whatever the case is, you could be undetectable. You could technically have a diagnosis of HIV and test negative on a test. But because your levels are so good, you can't pass on to somebody else. And that's what we're talking about. It's like the stuff is out there. Yeah. Let's be real. It's out there.
And there's preventative methods. There's also after you finish having sex, you can use the antibacterial soaps also to kind of clean up and different things like that and put on your genitals in different areas. And there's even something called PrEP. I don't know much about
so PrEP is something, that people who, of course, is normally in the gay community. But PrEP is something you can take as a preventative measure if you know you're engaging with others who might be at risk of having HIV. So it's like a one pill type of situation where you take it and it prevents you from, or lowers your, let me not say prevents completely, but it lowers your chances of getting the disease. Exactly. Yeah. And that's what it is. So even things like that, it's like, I'm not going to fault someone, whether you're gay or not, for taking PrEP. Like, you know what? We should all be taking PrEP because you never know. You literally never know. Yeah. But we sit here trying to judge all the time. It's like, oh, you're taking PrEP. Oh, you must be fucked. No, but it's like, it can be from anybody. It can be from anybody. I think that's the whole point of this, is just understanding that, as long as you're making conscious, ethical decisions when it comes to your sexual practices and you're expressing those interests in those behaviors with whoever you're engaged in, and everyone is agreeing to it, understand that, you know what, we're starting off on a good foot, and if something happens, something comes up within our circle or in our community, then everybody make sure they take their time off. We're not all gonna die. Take your time off, get yourself better, retest again. Hopefully all is good. And of course, the same thing with the incubation period. You can take your medication. It might not pop up that you still have it. Take whatever due diligence you can to make sure you're not spraying something that you know you have. But if you don't have it, it's okay. Yeah. And if you're not sure, just go get checked out. There's something in you, your intuition to tell you certain things. Listen to your gut. It's it's okay. You're gonna feel embarrassed. You're gonna feel scared at the time and afraid. But it's still follow through. Be like I always say, within your fears lie your greatest freedom. So just liberate yourself, so you don't have to live with that guilt and that embarrassment, and it's gonna be embarrassing, but at least you put yourself in that situation to be embarrassed, instead of later on you finding out and being embarrassed in that situation. So that's the most important thing. That's kind of what I got on that topic, to be honest. I think we didn't hash it out enough. You want to finish the stats? Did you get all the stats? Yeah, that was all the stats. Okay. So that's the most just important thing. Like I said, it's just that because there's so many different things out there that it takes time for it to pop up. But the most important thing is that when you're engaging in any kind of sexual behavior, whether you're monogamous, you identify as poly, or whatever it is, the risk is out there. And you know what? It's okay. It's part of life. It's a part of life, and the most important thing is we have to make sure, how can we lower our risk? How can we practice safer practices so that we're not putting ourselves or other people in situations that they don't need to be in? Yeah. And it's kind of give a couple practices that they can probably do. Yeah, the biggest thing is, of course, to get tested routinely, whether it's every 3 months or every 6 months. One of the things that we have is that before we engage with a new partner, we always get tested. 3 months or about 6 months into, we always got to get tested again. That's another big thing for us too. Whenever one of our partners engage with someone else that's new, we always ask, let's make sure that you test them and you get tested again too, just to make sure, so that we don't have so we don't have those type of different things that are going on. Because to be honest, y'all, we got 2 kids. I'm still trying to have more kids. Yeah. So I'm not trying to get something I'm going to pass to my children, because I'm out here trying to live my best life. Of course, I want to do my own thing. Yeah. I'm autonomous. I'm a woman. I have my own sexuality, of course. But at the same time, I'm not trying to pass nothing on.
Yeah, condoms.
Yeah, condoms. One of the things they talk about too is using like dental dams when it comes to giving oral sex with women. And to be honest, y'all, before we heard the podcast, dental dams was never even like an option for us. It was like, man, I'm trying to taste that pussy. Okay, but all of it. Full time. I want to taste it all. But at the same time, like they talk about how like there's different ways that you can engage it into those sexual environments without making it so weird. And also they were talking about too is like practicing before you go to like a swingers party or you're gonna go have sex with someone. Practice like that conversation. Have that conversation with that person about, hey, I want to do this when we have sex or that time comes. This is what I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
But you have to talk about it and try it out. You know, like I said, dental dams, we've talked about it. Like I'm like, maybe I should start getting into that. But to be honest, like I'm just not there yet, and that comes with it. And
it comes with it.
And
it
even,
may not be something you're ready for. But if you guys haven't got a chance, the book Ethical Slut is a phenomenal book.
We talked about it in all the videos.
And there's a chapter in there that talks about nothing but like safe sex practices and different things like that. And I also want to give like, I don't want my wife just putting stuff out there on, you know, or things that have taken place in the past for her. But I had a situation, a scare where like, I actually like did anal with the girl, but I wasn't trying to do anal, but I happened to accidentally go in the wrong hole. And going in the wrong hole, I took it out and I put it in, you know, the other hole and everything like that. And long story short, she was throwing up and different things like that, and she got I forgot what it was.
UTI.
It was a UTI and everything like that. And it's like I felt embarrassed about the shit. I'm like, fuck, like, was that my fault? Like, how did she's like thinking like, how did this happen? Only person it happened was like, you know, it was me. You know, so it's like, you know, I just want to put that out there. So it's like, she's not on one, you know, we all gonna make mistakes, and I didn't feel good about it. She's at the hospital, she's throwing up and everything like that. We're trying to find out, and the doctors
and everybody reacts to things differently. So with her, like, she got affected like really negative. We were all there.
And we were all there.
We were like at a swingers like club, when it happened.
And I didn't know at the time, and it's like, you know, like shit, like, so it's like I need to be conscious. Like, so if you like go anal with somebody, you can't automatically go back in and go right into
her vagina. And that's the whole point
shit.
too. I think also with porn culture, that's a whole other conversation. But it's like we see all the back and forth and we think, oh, that's okay. Like,
but he's probably clean in between, and we don't see the glimpse of.
Or sometimes they don't.
Or they probably don't.
You know, these girls, they be fucking these girls in the ass and go right in their pussy. Which, once again, if you're consenting to it and that's all good for you, then by all means.
But the risk.
Exactly. That's the whole point.
Don't be no fool.
That's the whole point. You know, it's understanding the risk that comes with it, and that's the whole point. When we see different things, for example, even on pornos with girls doing all kind of crazy stuff, for guys, it's like, oh, I would never do that. Okay, that's fine.
That's cool.
They consented to it.
To each their
you
own.
know, and to each his own, like you said. So it's like the whole point is understanding that, unfortunately, from mistakes is how we learn from our experiences, so we don't repeat them again. Now, if you keep repeating the same mistakes, and you're not learning.
Yeah.
And what's the point? Like, life is all about learning and growing, and that's the whole point of these experiences. When things don't go the way we want them to go, we have to learn from that.
Yeah.
So we don't end up putting ourselves in the same position. Yeah. And like same thing with Bernard with that experience. It's like for him, he's like, oh, like now I know next time. Yeah. Even it happened after that. We had like a threesome.
Yes, we had a threesome right afterwards.
Yeah, not right after the
not right afterwards,
but that was the next experience.
A couple years later and everything, and I actually went. I did anal.
And you had a condom on.
And I had a condom on. Also,
and Bernard slipped and went in her ass and was like, oh, my bad, and took off the condom.
And she was asking, like, why are you taking off the condom and everything like that? I'm like, because I don't want you getting, like, some kind of, like, you know, getting sick from it. Because I experienced it. So, like, now I'm knowledgeable and I'm conscious. You know, because in the heat of the moment, sometimes you might get super excited and be like, okay, like, you know, disregard all our safe sex practices and everything like that for the moment. But, like, you know, you still need to also think and be conscious, you know. Like, you can have more sex, more experiences and different things like that. But at the same time, like, you know, these people that you're messing with, make sure you kind of look out for them, too. Like, you know, make sure you really care, you know, because, like, you
can't care about more people. You can't care more about other people than you care about yourself, too.
Yeah.
So that's important, but care more about yourself.
Yeah.
And make sure that if something happens and let's say you do transmit something to someone else, you know in your heart that you did everything you could to make sure that everything was by the book.
Yeah.
So when you come to them and say, hey, listen, like, you've been seeing my results. I've been giving you my results every 3 months or every 6 months. And of course, you see that I've been clean. For some reason, I tested again before I started messing with ex-partner or whatever the case may be, or I had certain symptoms and I got this. Not sure how it happened, but just so you know, it happened. Just get tested, make sure you're good. If there's any issues, you have to take some time off. I respect that, and it's cool. Doesn't mean we gotta break up, we gotta have this big old fiasco. But at the same time, it's like, make sure like you take your time if you need it, and I'm gonna make sure I take my time.
Yeah.
You might not have nothing, but just so you know, I got something. I wanna make sure I'm good before I come back to you. I respect that 100% versus just keeping some shit a secret. And I think that's what it all comes down to. It's just being like aware and responsible and mature. And I think that's a challenge too when it comes to people being sexually active at such a young age, is that we don't have the mental capacity to have the awareness of like, okay, how can I prevent this from happening or that from happening, or how can I be more diligent in making sure that I'm preventing all these different things. All we do is going for the feeling, the end result. Yeah. The orgasm, the come, the this and that. That's all we're looking for. Yeah.
It makes just follow up with the person. You know, it's you know, yes, it's embarrassing. What took place wasn't something that you wanted, but like, you know, in the process of it, don't leave them hanging, you know, and now like distance yourself because of.
And now they're going through some stuff by themselves.
And it's like they're thinking like, well, fuck, this motherfucker gave me the STI or STE, and like they're not even following up and at least checking up on me. You know, call them up, see how they doing. Be human. It's okay. Be authentic.
You have to.
You know, so.
And that even happened too. Like even when I was in college, I was cheated on by a boyfriend, and the girl that he was cheating on me with, like, we ended up communicating, exchanging numbers. It was to a point where, like, we're texting each other, like, hey, did you go get tested? I'm like, yeah, girl, because he was fucking with us both, like, raw, to be honest. And it's like, hey, are you good? And she's like, yeah, I'm good. Hey, are you pregnant? Nah, girl, I'm not pregnant. And it's like, even just having that small little exchange, once we were cleared out, obviously we stopped communicating, but even just having that support, even in the midst of the betrayal and all of that happened, it's like, it was nice having that, because it's like, you know what, damn, like, at least we're being responsible about it. And it's not like, oh, girl, you slept with my man. Oh, no, girl, he's my man. And put all that shit aside. Bitch, are you clean? Are you good? Are you good? Are you pregnant? Like, what do we got to deal with? Like, what's going on? And I think that was an amazing experience, too. You know,
it was an experience to teach you and mold you and give you a life lesson. But while you're saying that, the idea came to mind that we're so fucking caught up with just having a fucking baby or somebody being pregnant and not realizing there's some shit out there that can fucking kill you also. So we're so caught up in like, okay,
I'm not pregnant, so I'm
not
good.
Pregnant. You know, oh, I have a what's the thing?
Mirena or IUD or something, or whatever.
IUD to protect me from getting pregnant. But being pregnant ain't the only scare or dangerous thing that's out there. Getting these STDs, HIV, and different things like that. And we need to take that into consideration also. Well, we'll bypass all the fucking diseases just to make sure we don't get pregnant.
Yeah, that's all. That's the only test we worry about.
That's all we worried about. Oh, okay. What does the pregnancy test take? Oh, it's negative. Okay, I'm good. Like, no, motherfucker. You probably got some damn disease. You done passed off some shit going raw dog on everybody, or even, you know, vice versa. But we need to also keep that in mind also. Just because, you know, it's not a pregnancy doesn't mean like we don't need to also. That's something that we need to attend to. You need to be proactive and make sure, you know, you're also checking yourself for like, you know, even like HPV in the throat or taking the cotton swab.
And that's what we're talking about too in the podcast, how like even something like HPV is like the most prevalent thing now. There's no test for men. None.
No test.
None. And that's something that we're talking about too in the podcast, where it's like people with HPV are coming up, really more so women, because men can't even test for it. So now you're in these communities where everyone is getting tested, you would hope, right? Everyone's doing what they need to be doing things ethically. And even still, there's certain things that even if you want to test for, you can. And even when you go for a full panel test at your doctor's office, not all tests are covered by your insurance, and not all doctors cover the same exact test. For example, the herpes test is more expensive. Most people don't even get that test done. So you can think you're doing a full panel testing, but you're really not.
Yeah, and then also the throat test.
The throat swab, that's all stuff you need to be getting.
Put it in there.
They're not going to automatically do that.
Yeah, you have to ask for it.
So there's all these different things to take into account. You know, when we do these different things, it's like, put your big girl panties on, your big boy drawers on, and understand, like, you know what? Like, yeah, I want to be fucking. Yeah, I want to fuck that girl. Okay, but one thing they talk about on the podcast is like understanding and having the mindset of like, you know what, damn, someone's attractive. I really want to do something with them. What if they have something? That's the mindset you have to have. Yeah. Not even what if they do have something. They just might not know it. But if they do have something, would I still want to engage with them? That's the real question. Yeah. And honestly, that question had us stumped for a while. Yeah. And it had us thinking like, damn, like, even when I see a cute girl walking by, I'm like, damn, Bernard.
Damn, that bitch bad.
What if that bitch got HPV or some shit? Would you still fuck her? Bernard's like, I don't know. And I'm like, that's the whole point. Because we never know. We never know. We get so caught up on the looks and things like that we totally dismiss the fact that someone could have something and either know about it or not know. You know, and I think that's the whole point of it. You know, it's like understanding, do you still want to engage in this lifestyle? Or period, do you want to have sex? Because whether you're in a monogamous relationship or not, it can happen.
Yeah.
It's not about just being open.
Also, it's like being open and being an open book. Don't be sitting trying to hide and sugarcoat shit and beat around the bush. Like if you have your test results, put it on top of the refrigerator. It's
Let
okay.
people know.
Let people know I'm good and everything like that.
And if I'm not, because I don't know about it, but at least you can tell, like I did my best.
And I did my due diligence. So if I do give you something, I didn't try to do it on purpose. You know, I did my best to put on the fridge and like go do my testing like every 6 months and also make you aware of the different people that I'm messing with and just keep you informed. So this video is a little bit longer, but we want to make sure we cover all ends and make sure like I know like what y'all need to know and like also still do your research and also be authentic with the person that you're messing with and like, you know, the partners and just being open and honest.
Yeah, and you can't be honest with anybody else if you're not honest with yourself, you know? That's the biggest thing. I know sometimes getting a diagnosis can be super scary. Super scary, and it's like last thing you want is someone you love and you care for to have to break the news to them, and then you have the risk of what if they don't want to talk to me anymore, what if they don't want to have sex with me anymore, what if they want to break up with me, and I'm just saying, you know what, like that can be an option, and honestly it's like, you know, it happens where you have to think of like in the worst case scenario, what's the worst that can happen if I tell them this? Oh, they could break up with me. Okay, and if that happens, what can you do? You know that you did your best. Now if you didn't do your best, that's on you. But if you did do your best and it happened, at least you have a clear concept. You know what? Like if they want to make that decision, we're all autonomous. You know, we all have the right to make decisions for ourselves that we want to have. And if people want to decide, I don't want to mess with you anymore because you gave me this. Okay, I did my part. Right. It's a choice. They have a right and they have a choice.
Free will. They got a free will to do that. And nowadays there's also at home testing that you can do. And you can test yourself on your own and everything. And
they sometimes even do full panel testing, full panel testing at home testing too. So there's different things out there. You have to just kind of just go and look for it and find it. Yeah. But of course, if your insurance if your insurance does cover some testing, make sure you get those tests done for sure. And one thing we did find out when we did get repeat testing, but like within a 3-month time period, our doctor, our PCP was pretty much like, oh, you can't retest again. You just tested 3 weeks ago, and we're like, yeah, but we mess with somebody new, so we want to make sure we're good. They were saying that when you come in, the verbiage has to be different. So instead of just saying, I want to get an STD test or whatever panel is covered by my insurance, you have to say, I might be at risk of exposure. So that's the terminology you want to use when you go to your doctor's office. Even if you want to get tested every 3 months, because I think insurance might cover maybe every 6 months or every year.
6 months or every
something
year.
like that. So if you want to get tested before then or in between that time period and still have it covered by your insurance provider, make sure you use the verbiage with your PCP of like, I might be at risk of exposure. Can we take a test? And then it'll be covered. Or it should be. Just double check that with your insurance. But that's what that's happened with us.
Yeah.
And that's how we
don't feel embarrassed about it. It is what it is. Even me, when I went in for my second one, and I just recently had one the month prior, in the beginning of the month, I felt kind of like embarrassed and everything like that. But it's like, this is life I chose. This is what we're doing. And it's like, I'd rather be safe than sorry, you know. Hard now and easy later instead of easy now and fucking hard later. So keep that in mind.
Yeah,
you know?
For sure. So on that note, that's all we got, y'all. We're glad to be back. We're going to have more videos coming for y'all for sure. Keep the questions coming. We're going to keep it consistent. So if you have any question, any topic, definitely feel free to DM us. If you want to comment underneath one of the videos, we'll definitely get those alerts and we'll definitely respond back. Thank you for those who have been communicating with us through comments on YouTube. Other than that, if you have anything else, just reach out to us. As y'all know, our Instagram is @PolyVoyage. YouTube is @PolyVoyage. And we'll be here for whenever y'all need us.
Yeah.
Fair enough?
Fair enough.
All right. Signing out, y'all.